It gladdens my heart that I'm going to be mentoring someone really young. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amara. If you're new here, I'm the owner of Snuggling Knit Designs, and I love to make chunky knit blankets and also stuffed animals occasionally. Now in today's video, we're going to be making a chunky knit blanket. It's just a simple chunky knit blanket. I got a request from a friend of mine that the daughter would love to learn how to make a chunky blanket. She saw my videos and she requested for it. So this video is dedicated to her, and I hope this video helps her to start making her own chunky blankets. I have four skeins. I have four skeins of it. I have my scissors. I have my lighter, and it's going to be a simple start to finish, how you start your blanket, how you continue making the body of the blanket, and how you finish. So to start, you want to leave off a tail about 7 inches, about 7 inches of tail. That's what you want to leave. Then next you want to make a slip knot. To make a slip knot, this is what I do. I wrap it around my finger like this, then pull this and tie. I'm going to do that again. So I leave a tail. I'm going to wrap it around my finger. With these two, I go in, pull it, and that's it. That's how you make a slip knot. So you want to make sure you have about 3 fingers wide. 3 fingers wide. Then now we're going to be casting on 25 chains. So this is 1. We're going to cast on 25. So to cast on, you're just pulling through the working yarn. You're just pulling through each one of them. And when you pull through, make sure it's still about 3 fingers wide. Then you go in again. I always use my middle finger. Sorry, I always use my first finger and my thumb. It's easier for me that way. Go in, pull it. Make sure it's still about 3 fingers. If it's too much, just reduce it with this one. Make sure it's still about 3 fingers. You go in again, you pull. You continue doing that until you have 25 of these chains. These are the chains. You want to continue doing that until you have 25. You can put it on the table and pull and drop. You pull and drop if that's easier for you. You just keep going through the holes, pulling out, you drop, you pull, you drop, you pull, you drop, and that's it. So we're going to keep doing this until we have 25 loops. They may not be perfect, but please, it doesn't, just as long as they are as close as possible, that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 25. Okay, all right, so now you have your 25th chain. What we're going to do now is to pull up, going upwards, but we have to turn our working yarn to the left. So you're going to be pulling upwards but to the left. The yarn the yarn has to be going upwards, but you're working towards the left. So you're going to go through the top loops of the chain you casted on. We're going through the top part of each one of them. So this time around, instead of having it 3 fingers wide, you want to make sure they're about 2 fingers wide now instead of 3. Reason is that this yarn, they stretch over use. So if you make it 3, it's going to be really big and it's going to stretch so much. Okay, so you want to go through each one of them going upwards. This is the first row. You're going, see how my finger is. So I use my first and my thumb always. So I pull it and make it go up. So you want to make sure they're about 2 fingers wide each one. It may not be perfect, but just make them as close as possible. This would help to maintain even tension around the blanket, so the blanket doesn't look funny. It's going to help maintain an even tension all around the blanket. Because if you make some to be big, some to be small, it's definitely going to show on the blanket that something is wrong. So you want to make sure you are keeping them as even as possible. So when you're done with the last one, you want to count to make sure you have the same number that you started with. In this case, 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay, so we have 25 loops going up. And this part is just the body of the blanket. We're just going to be repeating the same thing over and over and over until we are done with the entire blanket, because we're not making any special pattern. This is just a basic blanket. Now what we're going to do, we're going to knit the last one again and knit all the rows. You're just pulling the yarn through the loops that you already created. You're just pulling it through the loops you already created, each one of the loops. Always pay attention so you don't miss any one. Always pay attention. It is quite easy for you to miss a loop. It's quite easy for you to double knit a loop thinking you're knitting the next one. So you really want to pay attention to it. Why I like this craft is that it's repetitive. So you're just doing the same thing over and over until you're done. Except if you're working on a pattern, that's when it's a bit different. But if you're not working on a pattern, it's just a regular knit blanket, it's just repetitive. So now you've gotten to the end again, you want to knit the end going up. Now you're working the other way. You're just doing the same thing. You knit from left to right, right to left, left to right, right to left. That's it. That's all you're doing. I'm going to do one more row and I'll see you when it's time to change. Alright, we're back. So this is what we have left of the first skein or the first ball of yarn that we're working with. This is what we have left. So to join, there are two methods. You can either tie this together, like make a knot to tie it together, like how will you tie thread. You tie it together. You want to pull really tight. You want to pull tight but not too tight, and then you trim off this end. That's one method. My favorite method that I prefer to use is to burn it together, but you really have to be careful when doing this burn method so you don't burn yourself. What I like to do is I trim off the ends to expose. There's a little plastic in the middle right here. There's a little plastic there, so I like to trim that off to expose it. Then with my lighter, I'm going to burn the ends together, like fuse it together. So I'm just gonna burn it a little and then attach the other one to it. When I attach it, I like to hold both of them together for a few seconds. I like to hold them together for a few seconds so they melt together. They melt together with each other. Okay. When I'm done with that, I kind of roll it a little bit so it doesn't have a bump. People complain that it has a bump, but when you do it nicely, it doesn't have a bump. Next thing I like to do is to do a pull test. I like to pull it to make sure it's not coming apart, and as you can see, it's not coming apart. So if you do it nicely, it won't have a bump and it won't pull apart. That's how I join the second yarn or the second color. Like if I'm working with two colors, that's how I'm going to do it. And then I'll continue knitting again. Alright, so To finish off the blanket, first off, you want to make sure you have at least 3 times the width of the blanket. So you take your yarn, you measure out times 3 times. You want to make sure you have at least 3 or 4, even better, to be safe. I prefer to have 4. So you want to make sure you have 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and another 1. We're going to make it 4. To be safe. I'd rather be safe than sorry. To cast off, you start by pulling. You pull out. Then you go to the second loop. You pull again. Then cross this over. Okay? We're going to do that again. So this loop, you pull through. And then the one you left, you just pull it over on it. That's how you finish off. You pull, cross over. Don't make this too tight so it doesn't like pull your blankets together. It has to be a bit loose. If it's too tight, it's going to affect the blanket, like make it look too tight at the top. So you want to keep that a bit loose. Not too loose that it's wobbly, but just loose enough not to, I don't know how to explain that. But if it's too tight, it won't look good. So just how you made the first one to be 3 fingers wide, so when you're finishing off, you also want to finish off with that 3 fingers wide. That way the blanket is not looking too tight and it's not looking too loose. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is I'm going to cut that off here. Ooh. Stay up. Okay. So when I cut it off, I make a knot. You know how we made the slip knot? Make a knot, hold it tight. Then I like to tuck this in. Tuck it in. Then I use thread. I'm going to use a thread and needle to hold it together here. Same thing I did here is what I'm going to do for the bottom part. Remember we have a tail here. So this tail might be too long. I'm just going to loop it in. Just loop it around a little bit. Then I'm going to use thread and needle to hold it together here. So this is what we have. This is the back, how it's looking. See how beautiful that is looking. Then this is the front of the blanket. Though both sides can serve as front or back, but this is what we have. So this is the blanket we just made. And it's easy and it's simple. I hope this tutorial helps. If you have any questions, Let me know in the comments section of what you would like to see next, and I'll see you on my next video.